Another way that writing while you read can be very helpful is that it can help you keep track of larger structures when you're reading through larger passages. For example, if you're going to be reading the book of Haggai, it's just really 2 and a little bit pages in the text of the Bible. I actually have it printed out for myself, and on 8.5 by 11, it's a little over a page in 10-point font. It's a really small book, but it does have an important structure that, depending on how your Bible is formatted, you might not notice at all if you're not paying attention to some of the details. But as we're reading through, okay, verse 1 says, "In the 2nd year of Darius the king, in the 6th month, on the 1st day of the month, the word of the Lord came by the hand of Haggai the prophet." Okay, that's the kind of thing that might be tempting to just read right through and say, I don't know what that means, I don't know when that was, let's get to the good part. But what you notice then is as you keep reading, you come to chapter 2, verse 1, and it says, "In the 7th month, on the 21st day of the month, the word of the Lord came by the hand of Haggai the prophet." Okay, now I'm seeing a repeating pattern. I'm seeing that same formula in 2 places, and I want to start taking note of that. So if I'm working off of a printed sheet, I might come through and say, okay, in the 2nd year, 6th month, 1st day of the month. Okay, where does that happen again? All right, down here, 7th month, 21st day of the month. And then I continue through looking for that formula again. There it is on the 24th day of the 9th month in the 2nd year of Darius. And then, oh, there we go, a second time to Haggai on the 24th day of the month. Okay, so I've got these time markers that I've noticed. Let's go ahead and graph this out on paper a little bit. Okay, so let's start writing this out. We'll say the first one, okay, we're in Darius's 2nd year, and it is month 6, day 1. Now, if I wanted to, I could go look up information about the Jewish calendar, find the name of the month, but that's not really important for my understanding at this point. I'm just reading. I'm not trying to study in depth. I'm just trying to read and understand the format of what I'm reading, okay? So Haggai is speaking, and who's his audience? Okay, so he's speaking to the governor and the high priest. Okay, that's his audience. And then I can look at what's his message. You can come back to that later. But let's just go to our next marker. Okay, so it says it in chapter 2, verse 1, the 7th month, on the 21st day of the month. Oh, okay, so that is 1 month later. If I notice 6th month and then 7th month, I know what's happening in the story. I know how much time has passed between the Lord speaking the first time and speaking the second time. And again, he's speaking to the governor and the high priest. And we can look at his message there. And the next marker in chapter 2, verse 10, is 2 months later, 2 months after the second message. And then finally in chapter 2, verse 20, it says he came again on the 24th day of the month. So that's the same day. The speed of the messages has really ramped up, and the 2 separate messages came on the same day. That seems significant. I'm going to want to go back and look at that. Then I can go back and read the passages and say, okay, what was God saying? But what I've noticed is that the structure of this book is based around these 4 specific messages that came at different times from the Lord. So as I study this book more, as I read it again, I'm going to go back and look for those units of thought. What are these 4 messages that God had for his people through Haggai, and what can I learn from each of those 4 messages? And I found that by paying attention to details and just making some simple notes for myself.